name's Annabel of Annabel Giraud-Telme, an ethically and sustainably responsible fashion house which creates bespoke pieces for individuals, and we are launching a ready-to-wear collection in a few months. I first got into fashion because this is a funny story, I used to do lots of singing, dancing and acting when I was younger, so I used to customise my clothes and used to make pieces for the shows, but I used to tie knots in my tights because I'd get hand-me-downs from my sisters who were all taller than me and they'd all fall down as I was running down the street, so I used to tie knots, and that was the kind of realisation of things that can be changed, or your pieces of clothing can be customised to be able to develop into something that fits or works for you. It's not just with clothing choices, I think it's with everything. I think we only have one planet, we are all humans, and I think we should all be treating everyone with equal respect, everyone and everything with equal respect, and so every time you make a decision as to what you can do, you should be making it as morally and ethically as right as possible. So yeah, that's why I think clothing, especially with clothing, and I think we've spoken about this before, the fashion industry is the second most polluting industry after oil in the world, and so everyone should be doing their bit to try and change that and make it as good as possible. Anywhere and everywhere, ironically. The last collection was based on Hertz in Space by Louis Hernan. He photographs wireless networks and amazing multiple colours and layers of things that you don't normally see with your naked eye. So that was the last collection. This collection at the moment is capsule pieces. It's all about having these classic pieces that will last forever, that are ethically and sustainably responsible and made with British and French materials. So you know that there's an ethical responsibility to them, but I think it's everyday life is the biggest inspiration for that. Going from working to evening and having a piece of clothing that's comfortable and you feel good in and is a little luxurious, but also that makes you feel good. That was the biggest inspiration for this, but my inspiration in general can be anywhere and everything. You're walking down the street and you see something like, a little subconscious thought or something clicks and you just go, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and then you go and research, or you go to some art galleries or go somewhere else, go visit someone new, and that's what can be inspiring for it as well. So for my graduate collection that was featured on Vogue.com and at the Graduate Fashion Week and at the Royal Academy in London, I used something called Sugru, which is it's a curable, it's a silicone that dries after 48 hours. It had never been used in fashion before, and I was lucky enough to get sponsored by Sugru, and they gave me a lot of Sugru to play with, and I created pieces of clothing that had Sugru shapes in them, and I had to make wooden moulds. I had to go into the woodworking studio and make wooden moulds, which was also interesting because I've not done much with that before, and put it into the clothing. And obviously it's a silicone, so it reacts differently to different fibres and different materials, so you have to do lots of tests to figure out what's going to work and what's going to work. I've also used quite a lot of 3D printing now. I really love exploring with kind of these modern processes that enable you to progress your development of the piece more quickly. So yeah, I guess 3D printing, Sugru, and other innovative materials are, kind of what the future materials are. So there's stuff that are milk-based protein materials that's used for the 3D printing. You can now get leather made out of pineapple and mushroom and all these kind of crazy stuff. And I think from a sustainability point of view, those are the ones that are brilliant, and really want them to become more commercialised and into the ready-to-wear market, so that we end up with a more ethical and sustainable kind of fashion industry and environment. Everyone has kind of needs to change. They have to make an effort to change, and no one really calls it. So consumers say, right, this is what the companies offer. The companies then go, this is what the consumer wants. They want cheap clothes. I think it's understanding that people are so out of touch with how much time a piece of clothing takes and how much effort goes in it. It's not just, you know, cutting and sewing, it's all the way back to the farm kind of environment where you're having to harvest the cotton and then turning it into a yarn and then turning it into a weave or turning it into thread and weaving a piece of material and thread, and it's the whole process, you know. Like, for a t-shirt to cost £5, you've got to think, like, how can something that's been produced, like farmed, produced, created, hand sewn, sampled, cut, packaged, how can that cost £5? I think everyone needs to kind of think realistically, where are these clothes coming from? Who are making my clothes? In order to be able to, for the fashion industry to progress, because I think there's just too much demand on cheap, fast fashion and not enough understanding that there's something wrong if you're paying £5 for a t-shirt.